Social Music Talk. Welcome to Social Music Talk with Alex Cosper and Sam Kadura. Today we have a very special guest, an indie artist from the San Francisco Bay Area. And before I tell you who it is, let me just tell you who gets to be on this show. We've interviewed radio people, because both Sam and I are from the radio industry. And we interview people from the music industry, like label people. I've interfaced with a lot of them through the radio industry, so I kind of pick and choose guests carefully, people that have a lot of information to share for those people out there interested in either or overlapping areas of music, radio, and internet, because now the internet is a big thing that, you know, you have to use if you're going to be in music, right?
Isn't it amazing how I can't imagine life without the internet now, where 25 years ago, I didn't care about the internet.
Right.
It's like, wow.
Well, I think
change.
broadband turned it into what radio used to be.
Totally.
Something ubiquitous that, you know, you could use anywhere, any time, you know, and that, you know, delivers music. Just like you have a song queued up that we're going to talk about in a minute, and
Right.
it's from the indie world. Like I was saying, we do have independent artists on here from time to time, like we had Morris Knight from San Francisco. He's also a radio star there, friend of mine too. And so I look for artists that have really, you know, unique music that is innovative.
And also really quality music. That's
high
important.
quality music. That's very important from the indie world, because you can spend hours hunting through the indie world and not come up with great music. But if you cherry pick and start creating your own list over time, you could, you know, have a good list of indie artists.
That's way better than what you hear on mainstream radio, and that's the most important.
That's
note,
the
I
most
think.
important. In other words, design your own playlist is where everything's moving toward. And so with that, I want to introduce an artist who I think is excellent out of the San Francisco Bay Area, but originally from Montreal. Adrian West, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. So, like I was saying, you're based in what, Berkeley now?
Oakland.
Oakland. Okay, that's near Berkeley, and I actually used to live in Orinda, and I'd go to Berkeley all the time. So, do you play in Berkeley frequently?
Yeah, Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco. Those are the sort of mainstays, but we're trying to fill the calendar a bit with stuff that's up to maybe an hour and a half away. So
Cool.
Martinez, Santa Rosa, Petaluma, Davis, Santa Cruz, that kind of thing.
Those are all fun little markets that actually embrace music, like especially new music, like from artists, you know, local artists or indie artists.
Yeah, there's a strong appetite for good live music in some of these places, because they don't necessarily get a lot of it coming through. So that's a nice thing about playing in some of these smaller towns.
So what kind of venues where you play? What type, size, and atmosphere?
Well, in Berkeley and Oakland, in Berkeley it's often the Starry Plow.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
and
that.
sometimes the Ivy Room. Those are both really clubs that really support the local music scene and have a sort of a bit of a built-in following of people who keep an eye on their music calendar and look out for stuff.
Is it the UC Berkeley scene?
Probably for some bands, yeah. I find that for me, I don't think I'm drawing that much on the student population.
Okay,
not that much.
So an older demographic, more adult.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I think probably in the sort of the 30 to 55 range.
Okay, kind of like AAA, Album Adult Alternative, which K-Fog used to play, and then they went away.
Yeah. And then in the city, there's a really great venue called Piano Fight in San Francisco. That is this sort of performing arts mecca. It's 3 theaters plus a club, plus full kitchen and stage with sound system. And so there's a lot of performing arts like plays, comedy going on in the same space as some live music and just eating and drinking and having fun. And it's a great spot. So we play there sometimes, and the rest is mostly, smaller places, cafes and things like that.
Cool. Well, we'll talk more about your live performance and your songwriting and your recording, which we want to listen to one of your songs right now. This is one of your newer ones. This is Safe Streets. Adrian West.
There's a ruckus in the alleyway. He turns around to see what's going down. There's a dirty little huckster dealing crack by the dumpster. He roughs him up, a couple of uppercuts, till the gun'll be enough to make him think twice. It doesn't go like he planned. Now he got blood on his hands. So he lurks in the shadows, lays low, hoping no one will ever know. But the narcs are on him, and they're starting to close in. One night, doors kick down, get your body on the ground now, or we'll take you out. And his heart is racing as they head down to the station. Where Captain Samuel Flanagan says now your ass is mine, and I could make you do time. But there's more work to do, gonna make a deal with you. Here's a badge and a loaded Glock 22. You better clean up your hood, or I'll lock you up for good. Don't mean jack to a scoundrel like that. But it's all good, cause the brotherhood got him covered in a cloud of immunity. And the streets are safer now that he got a taser.
Man.
Safe Streets.
Awesome.
Adrian West. All right. Adrian, that's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we want to ask you some questions about that song. But first, Sam, my producer, wants to tell you what he thinks about your music.
Actually, I love Adrian's music. From your trio to your solo stuff. The dry spell, something about the dry spell, about the water shortage that California's been experiencing. It looks like it might be being resolved a little finally. Thank goodness for that. But I love that record. I don't know how many versions you have. What's the best version of that in your opinion?
Well, I think the version on the album is best because there we added horns. We had
beautiful
trumpet. Really filled it out nicely.
Where's your album available? Online?
Sure, all the usual places. You can get it on Spotify and iTunes, Bandcamp.
Last time I purchased an album online, I haven't purchased many. McCartney would be the name that pops up. So you're going to be the second artist I've ever purchased online. I'm definitely buying at least one or two of your albums. They're so amazing. Are you influenced by the Beatles at all?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I can tell a little, especially that we'll work it out line in one of your songs. That Ironclad, man, I love Ironclad. That's another beautiful record. You're a super talented writer and a great singer.
How many albums have you put out so far, Adrian?
2 albums.
Okay, so I met you on the first album like years ago. It was almost like a decade ago, and that was an awesome album, I thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you. It was a long time between the first one and the second one. I think 8 years, and but the good news is that I think that. So the second one, called The Human Touch, just came out in July of this year.
Okay, and that has Safe Streets on it.
It does.
Okay.
And I recently counted, and I think I'm up to like 8 or 9 new songs that I think are keepers. So
cool.
1 or 2 more, and then I think it'll be possible. It'll be time to start thinking about recording the next album, and that's
awesome.
That's a nice change. Going down from 8 years to maybe 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm. The song Safe Streets, that stood out to me, and your whole album's great.
Is that song unique, super unique, or do you have any other songs that are anything like Safe Streets? I'm talking about full production with, they could sound like a huge hit on the radio.
It sounds like it's good enough to be on a major label, the way it's produced and
right.
just
it sounds
everything
like
about it.
Like an amazing pop record, amazing rock record, amazing alt record, all combined into one super amazing record. It's like, do you have other stuff like that, or is your stuff more along the lines of Ironclad and Dry Spell, or you just do a little everything, kind of like the Beatles used to do?
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of wander around, and I don't try too hard to focus on one particular sound or style. But
that's good.
I think They're There Now, which is the first song on the album, on the new album, is similar in the sort of energy level.
Hey, maybe we could, Alex, you want to play that a little later in the show?
We could, if that's what Adrian wants. Adrian, what other song would you like us to play on this show?
Yeah, we want to wrap
The Human Touch. I think that the title track is probably a good one.
Continuing, though, with Safe Streets, just for a few minutes, that stands out to me because it has a great message to it. Plus, you do an animated video to it, and the video matches the lyrics. Just tell us a little bit about Safe Streets, like how you put it together, how you wrote it and recorded it.
Well, I mean, the motivation, and it's a story about basically a private citizen who becomes a corrupt cop, a corrupt police officer, and, who abuses his power. And the motivation for that was, just far too many cases of that happening, of police officers abusing their power and sometimes killing people. Mm-hmm. And, not all cops are like that. I think they are more the exception than the rule, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to just, be out there bashing cops. But,
sure.
but there have been quite a few cases of it. Seems like there's been a lot. And I ask myself when I see these things, especially when you can see the video footage of cops abusing their power, using excessive force, maybe fatal force. I just sort of found myself asking, well, why are they doing that? Why are they in a line of work where they're supposed to be, keeping people safe and de-escalating situations, and yet they seem to sometimes do the opposite. They walk in and they try and provoke and incite and escalate situations until then suddenly they have maybe an excuse for being violent. And it sort of spoke to the possibility that, well, maybe these are people who do want to be violent, and this is a profession where they realize, hey, I can do it and get away with it, so I'm going to go into that profession. They might not be conscious of it, but I kind of wonder if that's what's going on with some of these people. And so that's kind of what the story is about. It's, it's a guy who's a private citizen, but he witnesses some bad stuff. He gets involved. He's violent. And then he gets sort of manipulated into becoming a cop.
That's a very interesting story. It's fiction, but it almost mirrors reality. Social music.